you have to take action, right? It's one thing to say, okay, I want to do this thing, and it's another thing to actually feel like, you know, I've got people in the window looking at me. Hi there, welcome to this video. My name is Nate, if you don't already know who I am, and if you're here, it's probably because you want to learn Spanish. Now, this video is going to be super relaxed, and I haven't done a video like this in quite a while. I think my channel has been all over the place for the past couple of years, if I'm going to be honest with you. To be honest, I feel like sometimes I'm not the best at social media. I like teaching Spanish and I enjoy helping people learn Spanish because it's changed my life. But sometimes for me to sit down and film a video on how to learn Spanish or, you know, guys speaking perfect Spanish or these kinds of things, I don't know, sometimes it doesn't come super natural to me. I love having conversations with people and helping people learn, but sometimes I'm not the best at social media stuff, so I apologize for that. But to those of you who have been watching my videos for the past 4 or 5 years now, I want to say thank you so much. And thank you for watching this video, even if you're new to the channel. So, of course, people come to me all the time and they say, Nate, I want to learn Spanish. How did you learn Spanish? What did you do? You know, I'm learning Spanish because I have Spanish-speaking family members, or, you know, my girlfriend speaks Spanish, or I want to travel, or what have you. Just a little background on who I am. I'm Nate. I started learning Spanish more than 10 years ago, which is actually crazy to say out loud. But something you should know is that I didn't even want to learn Spanish in the first place, believe it or not. It's so weird. Filming this video, I have my notes over here. It feels weird to kind of have this unscripted, casual conversation, but I feel like when I watch these videos online, if, you know, people just chatting and kind of feeling like you're having a one-sided conversation. I don't know, I kind of enjoy it. I enjoy just this casual conversation, and it feels weird to be the guy speaking and you the one watching instead of watching. Anywho, this video is going to be a bit of blabbering, so I apologize in advance. Just a quick background on who I am. I didn't want to learn Spanish in the first place. I started when I was 14. I was in high school, and, you know, before I started learning, I had heard, oh, Spanish is the worst thing ever, the homework sucks, you know, why are we even doing this, blah, 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 blah. So after my first class, I was very surprised because I thought, this is weird, this is cool. I can make all these new sounds, and now all of a sudden, a new kind of person can understand me and connect with me. So, you know, at the time, I had lots of Spanish-speaking friends, and I said, well, you know, this is interesting, kind of weird. I'm gonna just try this out and see if I can, I don't know, have a conversation with some friends. So, you know, I went up to my best friend, Luis. I said, hey, Luis, I'm just gonna say a phrase to you. Let me see if you understand. So I said, you know, buenos dias, in my horrible accent at the time. He's like, oh yeah, that means good morning. And from then I was hooked. I was like, wow, this is really bizarre. And over the years, I have been fortunate enough to experience how speaking to people in Spanish changes the way they behave with you. So Nelson Mandela has an amazing quote. It's my favorite quote on languages. And he basically says, if you want to speak to a man's brain, speak to him in his second language. But if you want to speak to a man's heart, speak to him in his mother tongue. And I think it's really cool to have been able to experience that over the past few years. It's been amazing. So, you know, now I've been teaching the language for years now. I've taught thousands and thousands of people how to learn the language. You know, I have my website, SpanishNate.com. And I'd also just like to say thank you, or más bien gracias, for watching this video. You know, in the past couple of years, I feel like my channel has changed a lot, and not many people, you know, watch my videos like they used to in the past, probably because I'm making these crazy blabbering videos. But I want to connect with you guys. I feel like, you know, I'm not the best at social media, and so I'm not great at, you know, connecting with people and you know, creating this connection via the internet. I feel like when it comes to actual real life conversations, I'm much better at connecting with people and being able to listen and ask questions. But sometimes it feels hard to just talk to a camera. But I just want to say thank you. You know, it's crazy to think how much my life has changed since 2020, when, you know, my YouTube channel kind of first started to take off. It's just interesting. You know, like I said, it's gonna be blabbering, but, you know, growing up, I used to love making videos, and, you know, I didn't start learning Spanish till 2014. And so it's crazy to look back on my life over the past 10 years and how much it has changed, you know, from just fooling around making videos in high school to then, you know, learning Spanish, and then that kind of accidentally becoming this YouTube channel. And now, you know, the past 4 years, almost 5 years now, my job has been making these videos and teaching Spanish. So I'd like to say thank you for that, because if it weren't for YouTube, if it weren't for a bunch of people along the way, I wouldn't be able to have the kind of life that I have now. I'm currently filming this video in Amsterdam. I'm doing a little Europe trip with my girlfriend at the moment, and it's just, I get actually a little emotional talking about this because it's just, my life has changed so much, and I just want to say thank you. And I don't know, just sometimes it almost doesn't feel real, and I feel like when I make these videos, I'm being a bit selfish because I'm, talking about my past and everything that's changed, and I sometimes have to remind myself, hey, it's not about you, it's about everyone watching and helping you guys learn Spanish and be inspired to learn Spanish. So I hope that even in this kind of weird, casual, fireside chat themed video, you can find some value from it and feel inspired and what have you. So many people say, oh, I just want to be able to speak perfect Spanish because it's fun to surprise people or whatever. But really try to figure out your core reason. And I think this goes for not only learning Spanish, but for anything, for learning an instrument, wanting to make more money or whatever. You kind of have to figure out your core reason why. It's interesting because when I first started my business, I think my original thought was, it would just be cool to make some more money and have freedom and whatever. And they're very, selfish reasons. But now as time has gone on, I realized, my why for having this business is to help people learn Spanish and change their lives like it's changed my life. So same thing for you when it comes to learning Spanish. Maybe your reason's selfish, that's fine. But, say to yourself, okay, it's so I can, help others at the school that I work at, or, connect more deeply with my Spanish-speaking grandparents or parents or whatever, or, connect with this boy or girl that I started talking to. Figure out your reason, write it down, have it very clear in your mind, because when you lack a strong vision, it's very easy to get discouraged and give up. But if you can show up every single day, have a great time, and remember, hey, the reason I'm doing this is because X, Y, Z, you're much more likely to be successful. If you just go into it and you say, well, I just kind of want to learn and just, I don't know, it's kind of fun, or, do my casual Duolingo or whatever, you're much less likely to succeed. So if you can say, okay, I'm learning Spanish so I can, connect on a deeper level with my Spanish-speaking grandparents or Spanish-speaking friends, whatever, then keep that reason strong in your mind and stick to it as you kind of do the day in and day out grind of learning Spanish. So for example, a lot of people say, I want to make more money. So then you say, okay, why do you want to make more money? Well, I want, freedom or whatever. But then the next question is, when will you feel like you've made it? When will you feel like you've been successful? Because it's one thing, for example, to want to make more money, but it's another thing to feel like, oh, I have enough. It's very hard to do with something like money, for example, or health goals or whatever. And the same thing with Spanish. So when will you feel like you've become successful? When you're able to order food at your favorite restaurant, when you're able to, have, basic conversations during your travels, when you can have advanced conversations with, your Spanish-speaking friends. So you have to figure out what success means to you, because the reality is it is different for every single person. I'm thinking about this question, and when it comes to money, I remember I read this great book called The Psychology of Money. So I think so many of us want to make more money, but once we start making more money, we don't realize that our psychology around money also influences. So even if we have tons of money, but we have a very scarce mindset, we might not even want to spend the money, and we want to keep making more and more and more and more. So with Spanish, you have to think that way too. You have to say, what is the definition of success for me? So it's interesting because for me, when I first went into Spanish, I didn't necessarily have a clear definition of what being successful was when it came to learning Spanish language, because for me, I didn't even necessarily have the goal of becoming fluent in the language. I just liked it, and in my head, I knew that it was a requirement for me in my high school Spanish classes to take the language for at least 3 years. So I honestly think that my goal, whether I realized it or not, was, well, I want to be able to get by in my classes because I don't want to be confused as the years go on and as the level increases. But then that kind of accidentally helped me get better and show me that knowing Spanish is actually something cool. So figure out what your definition of success is when it comes to learning Spanish. Because if you don't have that, then you're never going to be satisfied with your current level. I remember speaking with my friend Matt versus Japan, and he talked about this, how, for him, the learning process was very serious, he was very disciplined, and it was interesting because I was kind of the exact opposite. So he had these concrete goals, and because of that, wow, he got to this super advanced level. But, I remember him telling me that he felt like maybe he didn't enjoy the initial process as much. But for me, it was so casual and so relaxed that I actually kind of enjoyed and was playing, was having fun, and it was like jazz, it just, whatever came, I was playing with it and whatever. Okay, I had an inspired moment there. Okay, so now that we've kind of answered those questions, the next thing is you have to take action, right? It's one thing to say, okay, I want to do this thing, and it's another thing to actually feel like, I've got people in the window looking at me. It's one thing to kind of answer these questions, but it's another thing to actually act upon them, So there's a funny photo I saw once where it's the famous thinker statue, and he's kind of like this. And then next to him is the doer off to the side, and there's just footsteps and there's no statue. So you kind of have to be both. Number one piece of advice I have for you, or rather, first thing is manage your time wisely. Use a calendar. If you're not using a calendar in your personal life or your work life, I highly recommend you start doing that, because then when it comes to Spanish, for example, you can set very tiny goals and say, okay, every day after dinner, I will sit down and study Spanish for 5 minutes or what have you. So kind of choosing a specific time and place to study Spanish, and I recommend you do it every day. It's going to help you a ton. Next is to set really, really small goals. Goals that are so easy to achieve, you kind of laugh as you write them in your calendar. So for example, putting in your calendar, okay, I am going to literally just open up the Duolingo app after dinner or something. Just something so dumb and so easy that you almost laugh at it and you say, okay, but then once you can just take that first tiny small step, then you can start developing the habits, which is the most important thing. Atomic Habits by James Clear, great book if you haven't read it. Then once you've got that thing going, boom, then you can start increasing, and you say, okay, now I want to do 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, whatever. You can figure out those goals. Next is to get a consistent tutor. This could be a tutor, a teacher, going to private classes. You need a guide. It's very easy to get sidetracked and discouraged when you don't have a guide, when you don't have someone who's already been there, done that. I like to think of learning Spanish as going to the gym. You can go to the gym by yourself and you can focus on that intrinsic motivation. When you have that kind of an extrinsic motivator, when you have someone yelling at you and telling you what to do and just providing that easy, simple plan that's like, okay, just do this. Make it so brainless that you just show up, look at the list, and do the things, and it just becomes ingrained in you. Like, for example, going to the gym, I've always had the most success by just having the crazy, stupid, simple plan and showing up and getting it done. But on those days when you don't feel motivated or what have you, it's really, really powerful to have another person who's kind of also, their goal is for you to be successful. So, whether that's a tutor, in person, online, whatever. Shameless self-promotion. Something I absolutely love about my website is that you get access to me and you get access to your peers. So our amazing online community is there for you always. So that is a really amazing motivator. Whatever is going to kind of kick you in the butt on those days when you're like, I feel like my level isn't good, I don't want to practice, whatever. Having an outside tutor, teacher, community, whatever is going to help you a lot. And I had also kind of put that in my notes here, surround yourself with like-minded people. So find a community like what I was just talking about. Find a group of people who are trying to do the same thing that you're doing, because it's going to be a huge motivator for you. Next, which is probably the most important thing that had the biggest impact on my Spanish, was to speak every day. It's amazing because when I started learning Spanish in 2014, up until 2020, so I had been learning it for a 6-year period, my Spanish was good, and I was enjoying it, and I was, practicing random people in my community and my friends, but I wasn't really speaking every day. I mean, I was speaking maybe a very small amount every day, but, maybe it was one day, a few sentences here and there. I'd have a quick phone call with my friend Luis or whatever, but it was very kind of sporadic, and, I don't know, I wasn't doing a whole lot of speaking. But when I started filming these YouTube videos in 2020, and I was doing, the guy speaks perfect Spanish and these kinds of videos and speaking with random people online, I noticed a huge amount of progress in my Spanish. I mean, just in 1 year. I mean, it's crazy because now when I look back 4 years, when I look at 4 years ago, almost 5 years now, I look at my Spanish and say, wow, my Spanish sucked. my accent was bad. I wasn't good at using the subjunctive in the past. All these different kinds of things. The number one reason that my Spanish got way better is because I was speaking every single day. Speaking online with random people and just speak. I mean, it's one thing to text and everything, that's fine, but it's really key to speak every single day. One of my students, Jeff, has been learning Spanish probably like 4 months, 5 months at this point. But when him and I started doing tutoring lessons together, he had been learning for about 3 months. And his Spanish massively improved after this really short amount of time. And the number one reason is because he was speaking in Spanish every single day. And it's crazy because I look at his Spanish now and I tell him all the time, because sometimes he'll get discouraged. And I say, Jeff, you've been learning Spanish for such a short time. The fact that you are working on these advanced concepts after just 4 or 5 months of learning, I mean, I wasn't on those concepts until like 4 years into my learning journey. So don't get discouraged. Just relax and just keep speaking. So it's amazing what speaking a language every day can do. And I think it's important to remember that at the end of the day, whatever your reason is for learning Spanish, the number one thing you're going to want to do at the end of the day is to have conversations with people. So, if your goal is to be able to more effectively communicate with people on your travels or connect with your Spanish-speaking grandmother, at the end of the day, the idea is you want to be able to have conversations with people. So if you're not actually doing the thing, which is speaking and having conversations with people, well, then you're going to improve at a much slower rate. So it's very easy to hide behind a textbook or a course or whatever, but it's another thing completely to actually go out and speak with people and kind of lose the ego, because the ego is the number one thing that I see hold students back from progressing and learning faster, because people are too nervous to speak with people and they feel unconfident. Just remember, relax. There are so many people out there in the world who are learning another language who feel embarrassed or shy when speaking with others. But, me personally, I would say 99% of the population, when someone comes to me and is speaking English to me and it's their second language, why would I say, oh man, your English sucks, dude, your accent's so bad? I say, oh man, that's so awesome, you're learning English, and you want to help and you want to, be there for the person instead of being mean. So just remember that for yourself as someone who's learning Spanish. Say, hey, people aren't going to be mean, they're not going to laugh at me, they're going to laugh with me, and people are going to want to help me. So it's a very good thing to remember. Finally, I just want to say enjoy the process. I see so many of my students, wanting to learn as fast as possible and, in the easiest way possible, and just do it via, a free app or whatever. And I just tell people, hey, just relax, enjoy the process. Me as the teacher, I am providing you with a very easy plan, just a basic plan. So you just, like I talked about, show up, it's brainless, you know what to do, boom, take your notes, and you move on and you speak. And that's kind of the cool thing about my program is it's easy and the whole plan is there for you. But you have to remember, hey, relax, enjoy the process, because the mind freezes up and doesn't work as effectively when you're serious and you just want to go. Just relax. This sounds cheesy, but my high school yearbook quote was, your mind will answer most questions if you learn to relax. I think it's so true. Same thing when you go to speak with someone, right? You freeze up, you forget everything you've learned, and you feel embarrassed and whatever. Whereas if you just relax, say, hey, I'm gonna make mistakes, it's gonna be okay, I'm gonna get frustrated, but as long as I can just keep showing up and make these baby steps, I'm going to get better. And there's another, I think it's by Lao Tzu, it's a great quote. He says, it's better to move slowly than to stand still. I think it's a great quote, so think of that when it comes to learning Spanish, but just enjoy. I think that was a huge advantage I had when I was first learning, is that I was so chill about the whole thing and I was just having fun. I was just goofing around. It was really like, oh, this is fun, this is cool. I can just talk to new people and they can teach me things and we can laugh and I can embarrass myself and people think it's funny, and those kinds of experiences are addictive. And go out and try to have those as soon as possible. Go out and make mistakes and laugh with people, compliment people. I learned the word uñas at a local Mexican restaurant. I would go into restaurants, and if someone had these very crazy nails or interesting nails, I'd say, hey, like, me gustan tus uñas, I like your nails. And then that would kind of open up this barrier, and someone will be like, oh, wow, this guy can speak Spanish. Maybe his accent isn't good, or maybe he said that kind of wrong, whatever. But that's cool, and he's trying to learn my language, and he's trying to connect with me, and that kind of makes people feel more comfortable with you. And then you can have these interesting new experiences. The amount of weird, fun, crazy stories I have just because I learned the Spanish language, it's endless. You know, I've gotten free food, free Ferris wheel rides. You know, people invite me to their house. You know, just when I look at my life and why the way it is because it's all because of Spanish. Like 99% of why my life is the way it is right now is because of Spanish. My girlfriend is Spanish. I live in Mexico City. My business is teaching Spanish. When I've been able to travel, I can just speak to people in Spanish, no problem. All these crazy experiences I've had have become the new friends I've made because of Spanish. I mean, it's ridiculous how much it will change your life. So, you know, my biggest piece of advice for you is just find someone who can help you, find a community, find a plan, be consistent, and just have fun. That might sound like a lot, but I think the easiest thing is just find someone who's done what you're trying to do. So, like, honestly, it's worth the investment. Just go pay someone, go pay a teacher, go pay me because I'm so handsome and I'm hilarious and a great teacher, whatever. Obviously, I'm kidding. But you get the idea. Just find someone who can help you, be consistent, and have a great time. At the end of the day, remember, why are you learning? When I was a kid, I took piano lessons, and I hated practicing. I hated doing the scales and whatever and all that. And sometimes you have to do those things, but you have to remember, oh, right, the reason I'm learning piano, for example, so I can play beautiful songs, so that I can feel, you know, more connected with the world around me or whatever. But yeah, just enjoy yourself, have fun. That's what life should be. You know, life is it's jazz. You know, it's constantly changing. Sometimes you have to work and you don't really want to, but you know, it's kind of what you have to do. But then sometimes you need to play, you need to have fun. So it's the same thing with learning Spanish. You know, sometimes you have to sit down, you have to study the boring stuff. Well, at least for me, it's kind of fun. But you know, study the predicate versus the imperfect, or the subjunctive mood, or irregular verbs, or whatever. But then you have fun and you play and you meet new people and you learn from them, and you know, you learn not only about Spanish, but you learn about life. And so anyways, I'm going on and being very philosophical here, but I just want you to remember, have fun and enjoy. And yeah, so anyways, that is enough blabbering for this video. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I really appreciate you for watching this video, and you know, for supporting me through watching these videos and, you know, learning Spanish on my website. Like, it really is a huge life goal of mine to teach people like yourself Spanish, because like I said, it has changed my life in the most ridiculous ways possible, and I want to be able to do that for you as well. So anyways, muchas gracias por ver el video. Espero que tengas muy buen día. Si tienes preguntas, lo que sea, me las puedes hacer en los comentarios de este video, y cuídate mucho. Adiós. If you want to become conversationally fluent in Spanish as fast as possible, check out the Fluent Spanish Speaker Academy. Here's what some of our current members have to say. Your YouTube channel and new podcast recently broke me out of a 1.5 year hiatus from learning Spanish. A few months later, and I'm now feeling more confident in my Spanish than I've ever been, and your content helps immensely. I also managed to break out of my confidence slump, and I've been talking Spanish with coworkers, cashiers at the store, and in restaurants. We stand behind our program with a 30-day full refund policy. If you're not happy within 30 days, we'll give you your money back, no questions asked. To find out if the Academy is right for you, click the link on the screen or in the description below.